Today we will be doing a boxing tier list. As you guys can see on your screen, there are 15 fighters on this tier list, and there are 5 criterias. S tier, which is by far the best. A tier, which is top tier fighters. B tier, which are solid good fighters. C tier, which is decent but not great, and then D tier, which is the lowest tier of the 5. Now, obviously, the fighters I selected are all very good fighters, so to make this video interesting, to make this list interesting, the criteria is that only 3 fighters are allowed per tier. So I'm going to have to end up putting top-level fighters on C or D tier because I'm only allowed to put 3 fighters per tier on this ranking. So let's begin. The first fighter that we get is Gervonta Tank Davis. Gervonta Davis, a tremendous talent, great offensive ability, explosive power. He's in his prime. He's looking absolutely tremendous in his career. He's one of the most talented fighters in the sport, one of the biggest names in the sport. Now, I'm going to start off right away. He's not an S-tier fighter because only 3 fighters on this list are allowed to be on S-tier, and he's not a top 3 fighter on the list in my opinion. And he's obviously not a D-tier fighter. That puts him in either A, B, or C. Now, to put into careful consideration, I feel like putting him on C tier would be a disrespect. So I'd either put him on A or B tier. But you got to realize only 3 fighters are allowed per tier. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't think Gervonta Davis is the 6th best fighter on this entire list. I'm going to put Gervonta Tank Davis on B tier to start it off. Gervonta Tank Davis is on B tier for me. Next, we have the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, once again, a very good fighter, obviously. One of the best fighters in the entire sport. That's why he made the tier list. He's not on S tier as well. He's not on S tier, obviously. And I think putting him on A tier as well would also be a little too high. He's either on B or C, and I think I have to really consider which one I'm going to put him on. I think it's a very tough call for me, a very tough decision. I think I'm going to put Tyson Fury on B tier as well. I think B tier, which already has 2 fighters, it's only allowed to have 3 fighters total. It's going to get very interesting, but I think he's on B tier. I think that makes a lot of sense. He almost beat what many consider the best fighter in the sport. He's proven time and time again he's a tremendous talent. Yes, he's had some shortcomings like against Ngannou and against Otto Wallin, which is another weak performance. But overall, Tyson Fury, a tremendous fighter. Next, we have Saul Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is one of the best longevity in the entire sport right now, not because he's old, but because he's been around for so long, for so many years. He's had so many elite fights. He's been one of the best fighters in the sport for a very long time. Again, I don't put him on the S tier. He's obviously not on the D tier either. Is Canelo Alvarez a better fighter at this point than Gervonta Tank Davis and Tyson Fury? I think that's a very good question, and honestly, I would say yes. I'm going to put Canelo Alvarez on the A tier. I think that's a very fair spot for Canelo. I feel he's definitely earned his right to be on the A tier. He's a tremendous talent, as we all know. He's accomplished a lot in the sport of boxing. At one point, he was pound-for-pound number 1. Now, obviously, not anymore, but he's still a pound-for-pound level fighter. So Canelo Alvarez gets the A tier. Next, we have Artur Beterbiev. Artur Beterbiev, a tremendous talent as well. An amazing fighter. I'm not going to even draw it out too much. Artur Beterbiev is also on the A tier. I would actually put him above Canelo Alvarez because I would pick him to beat Canelo Alvarez. This list, as you guys can see, is going to be very difficult to make. It's going to be a lot of very close decisions made. Ryan Garcia. Now, this is an interesting one, guys. Ryan Garcia is a very interesting one for many reasons because before the Devin Haney fight, he wouldn't even be on the list in general. Now he beats Devin Haney, right? The guy that many, including myself, picked to beat Ryan. He beats Devin Haney, but is he consistently that good of a fighter? Would he defeat Devin Haney again? Is he able to beat the other top names in his weight class or around his weight class? I do not think Ryan Garcia is on B tier for Gervonta Davis and Tyson Fury. As you guys need to remember, just because Ryan Garcia is not on B tier does not mean he's a B-level fighter. The rules are only 3 fighters are allowed per rank. If that wasn't the case, every fighter would be S and A tier, maybe 1 or 2 B tier fighters on the list, and no one would end up being on C or D tier. I think Ryan Garcia belongs on the C tier, guys. I think C is probably the spot he belongs right now. I feel the other guys are all killers, all consistent. Ryan Garcia has never won a title in his career. He's never defended a title in his career. He has 1 elite win and a couple okay wins. C tier is honestly just for Ryan Garcia. Dmitry Bivol. Now, obviously, if Canelo Alvarez is on the A tier, Dmitry Bivol has to be on the A tier as well. He has to be above Canelo. And honestly, he's arguably above Beterbiev as well. He's not on the S tier, but again, he's not far off from it, obviously. He beat Canelo Alvarez, who I put on the A tier. He hasn't had too much consistency when it comes to how many elite wins he has, but his talent is immense and it cannot be denied. And Dmitry Bivol makes the A tier. So now the A tier is complete. There's no more fighters that can make the A tier ranking. It's either S, B, C, or D. We have Errol Spence Jr. I'm not going to stall it out too long. Errol Spence is on D tier, guys. Errol Spence has to be on D tier. Objectively, it has to be. At this point, when you look at the other guys in the list and what the other guys are doing at the moment, Errol Spence has to be on D tier. He just came off one of the most dominant losses I've ever seen in my life. He got absolutely demolished, absolutely botched. The fact that the Ring Magazine still has him on their pound-for-pound list, I think, is a disgrace at this point. He arguably wasn't even on the list in the first place. Errol Spence is a very talented fighter, and I do think he can very well capture a belt at 154. I'm actually picking him to beat Sebastian Fundora, funnily enough. However, at this point of his career, when you look at the other competition on the list, D tier makes a lot of sense for Errol Spence. The monster Naoya Inoue. Now, this is a very obvious one at this point. At this point, it's undeniable. Naoya Inoue, if only 3 fighters are allowed on the S tier, Naoya Inoue is one of them. Inoue is our first member of the S tier. He makes the spot. He's a top 3 pound-for-pound fighter, which makes him on the S tier without doubt. As we all know, Naoya Inoue, an amazing fighter, a dominant fighter, tremendous talent, multi-weight champion, 2-time undisputed champion. There's no way he can be anywhere else in the S tier. I don't even have to defend it that much. Naoya Inoue is our first fighter on the S tier. Anthony Joshua. Guys, this list is actually getting difficult for me now. This is what makes the list fun and interesting. Because AJ's not on D tier. That's right off the bat. He's not on D tier for Errol Spence. He's above that. Is he on C tier for Ryan Garcia when you look at the other options left on the list? I'm not sure. I'm really thinking about it. Where does AJ belong on the list? This is a very tough call. I actually somewhat have to make it on the fly right now. Part of me wants to even wait and skip ahead AJ and get rid of the obvious S and D tiers. But this is a very tough call for me, guys. This is a very difficult decision. Because is Anthony Joshua better than Ryan Garcia at this point? Probably, right? He's probably higher ranked than Ryan, objectively. Because I feel Ryan Garcia does not have enough of depth in his resume. However, when I look at the other guys that are still on the list, I don't know if I could put AJ on B tier, guys. I don't know if I can at this point. It's a very tough call for me, and I think I'm going to get some criticism with some of these rankings that I end up making. So, what I think I'm going to do is looking at it carefully and looking at it concisely. I'm going to put Anthony Joshua. I'm going to put him on the B tier. Screw it. I'm putting AJ on the B tier. The B tier is complete. No more fighters are left on the B tier. AJ makes the B tier, and the reason I think I'm going to put him on the B tier is because Tank and Tyson Fury are on that tier, right? And I think Tank is obviously probably the highest one of the 3, but you can make the case that AJ is actually a better fighter than Tyson Fury at this point, as you've seen how they performed against similar level opposition. I feel it would be unfair to have Fury at B and Joshua at C. So Anthony Joshua ends up making the B tier, and this is where the list gets very messy, right? Because now we have Vasiliy Lomachenko next. When you look at the list, the only spot I can really put Loma, I think I'm going to put Loma on the C tier. I'm not going to put him on D tier. Vasiliy Lomachenko makes the C tier for me. He just beat George and became a champion once again. He beat Devin Haney, in my opinion. I still feel he's one of the best fighters in the sport. I don't think he belongs on the D tier for Errol Spence. I believe he's above Spence at this point. So Vasiliy Lomachenko makes the C tier. I would also pick him to probably beat Ryan Garcia at this point, and Ryan's on the C tier. So I'm putting Vasiliy Lomachenko on the C tier. Devin Haney. Guys, at this point, with what's going on with Devin, I think he temporarily, just temporarily, has to be put on the D tier. He has to, guys. Devin Haney has to be put on the D tier temporarily. Losing to Ryan Garcia, especially the way he lost to Ryan Garcia, getting dropped multiple times and losing that upset, it has to mean something negatively. It has to. I can't put him above the D tier right now. Now, I believe Devin Haney will bounce back. Crazily enough, I probably had Devin Haney on the A or B tier prior to that bout. At least on the B tier, possibly even on the A tier. I think I had him on the B tier. But that's a big loss, guys. That drops you a little bit. So I have Devin Haney on the D tier at the moment. David Benavidez. This is pretty unfortunate, guys, because David Benavidez is a tremendous talent. He's a really good fighter. But this list is very stacked, and I made it stacked on purpose. Because of how stacked it is, David has to go on the C tier. He has to. Now, I think that David Benavidez has genuine potential to become an A tier, maybe even S tier fighter. I think A is probably his peak, though. But at this point, he still needs to do a little bit more, and I don't think it's his fault. I don't think Canelo wants that fight. I would pick Benavidez to win, funnily enough. But he needs more time. So I think C tier is fair just because of the other options. I don't know if I could put Benavidez above AJ or Fury yet, and definitely not above Tank yet, even though it is close. You can make the case for it. You can make a strong case for it, to be honest. But I think I'm going to put him on the top of the C tier right now. I think he's just below the B tier. He's probably like one spot behind the B tier. Deontay Wilder. Guys, Deontay Wilder is obviously going on the D tier. He's done. His career's over. His career's finished. He has nothing left. Deontay Wilder on the D tier. That makes a lot of sense, guys. I don't even have to explain it at this point. Terence Bud Crawford. Terence Crawford is going to obviously make the S tier. This is no debate. Undisputedly on the S tier with Naoya Inoue. Very clear cut. Multiple weight champion. 2-time undisputed champion. No argument necessary for Terence Crawford. He is very clearly an S tier level fighter. I don't even have to elaborate much on it. And the final man on the list, Oleksandr Usyk. Just like Terence Crawford, obvious S tier. My number 1 pound for pound level fighter. This is a very clear spot for Usyk, and he clearly deserves this spot on the S tier. Guys, this video was not as professional as the other ones. I felt this was more of a fun video to make for you guys. I was stuttering and messing up my words a little bit because this is more of a casual, laid-back concept. I hope you guys enjoyed it, though. If you guys did, let me know so I can possibly make a part 2 of 15 separate fighters with a completely new group of fighters. Maybe even I'll include some old-school fighters like Floyd and Manny Pacquiao. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. My final list. This is my final list. Errol Spence, Devin Haney, and Deontay Wilder at D tier. David Benavidez, Ryan Garcia, and Vasiliy Lomachenko on C tier. Gervonta Davis, Tyson Fury, and Anthony Joshua on B tier. Arthur Beterbiev, Dmitry Bivol, and Canelo Alvarez on A tier. Naoya Inoue, Oleksandr Usyk, and Terence Crawford on S tier. Have a good one, guys. God bless. I'll see you guys later. Peace.